All right, ladies and gentlemen, with you, as always, is Todd Schneider bringing Week 8 action to you here in a MOAC showdown with the Marion Harding High School president sitting at 3-4, playing the Vikings of River Valley sitting at 5-2. And with me tonight is none other than the illustrious, the famous, the magnificent Mr. Bob Stone. Coach, how you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm great, Coach Snyder. I'm excited to be here with you tonight. Really looking forward to this game. It should be a good one for us here.
Absolutely. Should be a fantastic game. Before this game gets started, I want to let everybody know that Coach Stone is better than me at bowling. He beat me twice today in a bowling game, but I have let him know that when and if we do play at Wii Bowling, I am much better at that, and I will beat him at that.
I have no doubt about that, Coach Snyder.
What are you saying? All I do is play video games? I think that's what he's saying, folks. All right, here we go. Kickoff. And the Prexies start off with a squib kick. Kind of didn't see that one coming, Coach. Did you?
A little unexpected, but then again, when you're playing a local team and you want to get off to a fast start, sometimes you throw a surprise at them early on in the game.
Well, and I got to believe they watched a little bit of film, and Valley must have a pretty solid return game, too, if they're going to try that right off the bat, especially when you consider that you give what's been a pretty potent Valley offense the ball with pretty daggum good field position.
So now the President's defense is going to get set up for first down.
All right. Looks like at quarterback. Oh, and he did not catch the ball, and at quarterback for the Vikings is Jake Green, a 5'9", 170-pound senior.
River Valley has been a very run-heavy team this year, so interesting to see him come out on first down and try to throw the football there.
Yeah, a little bit of a bootleg style waggle play there. All right, here we go. They got a two-wing set, a little bit of motion, and they stick with what has been their bread and butter all year, a little bit of that triple option. Coach, you know as well as I do, that triple option as they gain about 2 or 3 yards on it is really hard to defend.
It's very hard to defend. You hear the stories about teams getting ready at the college level to face option teams, and they'll run their practices without a football because it's all about assignment football.
It really is. I mean, you have to have someone tackle the dive. You have to have a quarterback player. You have to have a pitch player. And really the key to this offense when they run out of these wings is follow the motion. Most of the time, the motion is going to take you to the ball.
Got a little bit of a third and long here.
Speaking of motion.
Run the ball outside.
That's a great step up. That's a great job.
Nice play there by Tobias Thompson-Reese to make the tackle.
TTR. So you got to ask yourself, Coach, if you're Coach Green, what do? Do you punt it here?
Well, right now it looks like there's some personnel change happening, so I think they will punt the ball.
I think indeed they will punt, and the always dangerous DeAndre Ayers Jordan is back there, ready to catch the punt.
He's certainly had his share of big plays this year, so
he absolutely has. And it looks like Ayers is just not going to touch that, and I don't blame him for that. That was kind of a knuckleball right there. That kind of flew up in the air, fluttered a little bit.
Little unpredictable flight pattern there, and a lot of Vikings down there to cover it at the end.
Absolutely. Coach Slater on the sidelines mauling number 7, Jacob Arndt, the Arn-Eater. Not out of anger, but just like, wow, that was a great play. There's nothing more exciting than when you come off the field, you make a great play, and your coach is just there, in your face, in your Kool-Aid, just telling you great job. I mean, it's just magnificent. Best feeling in the world, quite frankly.
Absolutely. After a long week of practice and breaking down the film, and those plays where maybe you didn't get the job done.
Absolutely.
When you hear, hey, great job.
Yeah.
It makes it all worth
Coach
it.
he's probably like, that's what we practiced all week. That is fantastic. Been there, done that, Coach, as I know you have as well, as a former football coach. Looks like we got a little snafu with a ball here. Looks like the ball boys for Harding are maybe slacking just a little bit in their duties because they're excited. It's a big game. Oh, Coach Chapman comes up with another ball.
Now, kind of interesting, Coach, as we get lined up here, if you look at the formation, there are 4 receivers for the Presidents on one side of the ball.
Yeah, one of those is big, gigantic Jacob, Mr. Goodbar. Big kid.
A little bit of a quads look here for us to start off the game.
All right, let's see what the Prexies dial up on the first play here. Nothing doing on that. Wow, as the interior of that Prexy's line just got owned.
A little bit of a loss of yardage there, trying to open up with the reverse, hoping to catch the Vikings defense over pursuing.
Didn't work on that one.
Looks like about 2nd and 15 now for the Presidents. Speaking of DeAndre Ayers.
Speaking of DeAndre Ayers.
Mr. Ayers there.
Well, and Coach, that was a fantastic gain on 2nd down, but when you've got 2nd and Waldo, so now you've got a 3rd and 7. I mean, I won't call it 3rd manageable, but it's better than 3rd and 1,000 there. Oh, looks like we have the edge.
Looks like we get to the edge here, and looks like that's going to be enough for a first down, Coach
That's
Snyder.
enough for a first down. I tell you what, though, with those wide receivers blocking in space like that, you have to be careful that you keep your hands inside and you keep your body close, because if you let your hands get outside or you don't keep your body close and you allow space, that's the area where you're going to see a lot of holding there, Coach Stone.
And sometimes if you're a lineman on the inside, you can get away with it, but when it's in space there, everybody sees it.
Everybody sees it. Oh, Wink just kind of overthrew that. He actually threw that out of bounds, it looks like, to one of Valley's coaches. So good catch by that coach, whoever he may be.
Coach is going to go to the film on Saturday and say, look, I still got it.
I still got it. I ain't as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was. Oh, looks like a little wildcat
look here.
I tell you what, that was a lot of work for what looks like about maybe 2 yards, but you got to give Ayers credit and you got to give the offense credit for trying to come up with some different wrinkles.
The wildcat can be a good way to get the ball into the hands of, someone that's had a lot of big plays this year in DeAndre Ayers.
Absolutely.
So I would not be surprised if we see a little bit more of it tonight.
All right, so here we go. We got about 3rd and 9. Let's see what the Prexys choose to do here. Looks like a little screen, and Wink had to throw it a little bit high because he had somebody in his face, which you're going to see on screen, but Wink is not, bless his heart, he's got the heart of a lion, and he's done a fantastic job. The kid just isn't very tall. He's just not.
And like you said, Coach, with the screen, that's, you kind of expect to have some players in your face. That's part of what you're looking for, but, can make executing the screen pass there a little difficult.
Absolutely. Jacob, who has punted magnificently all year. Oh! Prexy ball. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Oh.
Looks like the Vikings ended up with the ball there on the bounce.
I got a little too excited there, Coach. I put the cart before the old horse there. Hard to not get excited up here sometimes.
So it looks like we'll get another look at the River Valley offense here.
And it should be noted that up to this point, we have had 2 common opponents. We beat Pleasant. They lost to Pleasant. We housed Mansfield-Madison. They housed Mansfield-Madison.
And certainly, as you know, Coach, being 2 local teams playing against each other, both of these teams are certainly up for the challenge tonight.
Absolutely.
Each other.
Cool. That
nice
was a
tackle
great
there by
tackle
Justin Bentley.
by Mr. Bentley. That is fantastic tackle by him. He came up like a bat out of Hades, folks. Like he was shot out of a cannon.
Now, Coach Snyder, did that look to me like a little bit of a trap play there?
I think it did, Coach. Well, and kind of to go along with that, folks, when we watch football, we all kind of like to watch the quarterback, but the reality is if you really want to figure out what's happening in a play, hone your eyes in on the offensive line and watch how they block, and you'll know what's going to happen every single time. All right.
Running room there as the Vikings gain
about 5-6 yards,
5 or
maybe?
6 yards.
Looks like about 3rd and I want to say about 3, maybe 4. That looked a little bit like a dive play, like a little bit of a wedge play there, big on big, really.
Yeah, it looked like straight ahead blocking. The running back lowering their head, picking up what yardage they could. Be interesting to see what they call here on 3rd and 3.
Well, I got to think you're going to see some kind of motion out of the wing here, and you're probably going to see maybe some type of pitch or dive. Nothing doing on that.
Looks
a
like
slew of presidents. Looks like Ben Kinney's in on that. Mitchell Frederick Myers. It looks like Jaquavion is in on that. And it looks like Valley is going to punt the ball once again.
Like you said, Coach, a nice job by our defense there to rally to the football.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, you just got to say a cabinet of presidents, quite frankly. Just got to get there to the ball. Let's see what they do here on the punt. Snap is up. True. The punt is a little bit of a knuckleball. Got to get away from that. Okay.
Looks like the Presidents will take over at about the 29-yard line.
I'll take that all day, every day. Better than the 10-yard line.
Absolutely. Field position such an important part of this game. It'll be interesting to see, Coach, as we've seen with 2 punts now for the Vikings. The ball a little unpredictable in its flight there. You know, certainly as a member of the return team, you want to try to stay away from that.
No, absolutely. Well, and like I said, the last you just alluded to it. The last 2 punts, their punter's kind of a knuckleballer, which at that point, I don't really know if you want to field those because they're just so wobbly and so awkward in the air that those are the type of balls that just lead to fumbling when you try to catch them.
Little jet motion. Looks like coming back with a little counter look there for the Presidents.
DeAndre Ayers, a little bit of about a 8-yard, 7-yard pickup. I'll take 2nd and 3rd all day long, Coach. Makes it a little easier to call that 2nd down play, you know?
It certainly does, Coach. You got to stay on schedule as an offense.
A little bit of a drawl as nothing doing there for Ayers, and the Prexies actually lose a couple yards.
Looks like it'll set us up in about, we'll say 3rd and 7.
I don't know what our clock operator's looking at, but I think that's more like a 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6. But whatever. Wink felt a little bit of pressure there and did the smart thing, got rid of it.
And the President's punting unit on again.
At this point, this is like you alluded to earlier, Coach. This has just kind of been a field position battle, quite frankly. And at this point, if we're comparing punting games, I'll take ours over theirs.
You know, as you've mentioned, our punter, Jacob Hoffman's had a number of good kicks this year.
That's quite a knuckleballer there, right into the hands of – bounced right into his hands, quite frankly. Well, and, Coach, I just want to mention something. This is Valley versus Harding. Should be a monstrous crowd here, but because the Big Ten and college football has decided to be greedy, the Buckeyes are playing tonight, which has probably meant a bunch of people have stayed home to watch the Buckeyes.
Yeah, certainly seems to be having an impact this evening as the President's defense there makes a nice play on the edge for no gain.
Looks like that was big Mr. Goodbar. Jacob Goodbar. Should be noted that there is a number of sophomores on the field tonight for the Presidents. The Presidents have showed a lot of promise this year, but have stumbled at times. But one of the positive things going forward is we have seen a lot of sophomores get on the field for the Prexies this year, which means the future could look bright for these young men.
And that's on offense and defense. River Valley comes back. Looks like maybe another dive play there.
Yep.
As all the linemen are firing out straight ahead.
Looks like he picks up a little bit of forward progress there. You thought maybe he got a little more than what he did, but he only picked up about maybe 4 yards on that, considering it was 2nd and 11, and now it's 3rd and about 7. So you got to think maybe here you're going to see Valley maybe a little play action pass here a little bit, Coach. I mean, that's what I would do on 3rd and 7, considering how much I've run the ball.
If I'm the defense, that's certainly something that I'm going to be alert for.
Don't bite on that fake, right?
I'm going to imagine you'll see some kind of motion here.
Oh, there we go. You called it. Little reverse
wing
back.
Counter there, maybe.
Nothing doing on that.
Defense, not fooled.
Looks like Valley is going to stick with it and punt it. We have traded punts as neither offense has they haven't really found a rhythm yet. I mean, I got to think someone's got to bust a play here soon, but I would hope it would be us and not them.
No, Coach Snyder, as a former football coach, if you're the special teams coordinator this evening, how worried would you be at some point about a fake punt?
Oh, His foot was actually in the end zone when he touched that ball. That should be a touchback. Should be a touchback. But
looks like we'll be getting the ball at the 1.
Looks like we'll be getting the ball at the 1. So, a fake punt, Coach?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Fake punts are one of those.
Fake punts are one of those plays. If you get them and it works, you're a genius. If it doesn't, You're the worst coach in the world.
Absolutely.
All right, so you got to believe here that the Prexies are just going to run the ball, but you got to believe too Valley's going to try to tee off here. As he just gets out of the end zone. Just gets out of the end zone.
A little bit of penetration there on the interior. Made picking up some yardage there. A little bit of a challenge for the Presidents.
Dangerous place to be right now. Very dangerous place to be right now.
Gain of a couple there for Tobias Thompson-Reese on the jet sweep.
So now it's 3rd and about 6, I want to say. 3rd and about 6. First down would go a long way to helping the Presidents here. If we would have to punt, it would give the Vikings excellent field position.
Play action look there for the Presidents.
Oh, and it looks like there was a holding call. I see a flag. That's got to be a holding call. That would have been a first down for the Presidents. All right, come on, ref. Just call the penalty. Let's roll.
As we wait for the call here.
Holding, offense number 56. Half the distance to the goal. 3rd down.
All right.
Another chance here on 3rd down for the Presidents.
Well, and Coach, we had the first down on that one. You can't make those mistakes. And I understand when your quarterback's rolling out, and the defensive line is pursuing, you get those hands on the guy. You don't really mean to do it, but here we are, Prexies once again.
And the thing to keep in mind sometimes with the holding penalty, certainly it can be frustrating, but a lot of times that's an effort play.
Absolutely.
You've got an offensive lineman trying to help their team make a good play there. So you hate to see it as a coach, you hate to see it as a fan, but a lot of times it's just a young man trying to make a play for his team.
Wait a minute. I do believe that they misspotted the ball. The ball was on the 5. If it's supposed to be half the distance to the goal, the ball should, in fact, be on the 2.5-yard line, not on the 1-yard line.
Certainly looks like the officials are gathering there to discuss that point.
Absolutely. The ball should be on the 2.5-yard line, and they don't move it. I don't understand that call. Okay, maybe they know something we don't know, but
we get set on 3rd down here. Handoff to Ayers, gain of 2-3 yards there.
All right, so the field position battle continues as the Prexies, with 3 minutes and 15 seconds left in the first quarter, punt the ball to River Valley.
Story of the first quarter so far, defense and special teams. A little bit of a field position battle on our hands here.
A little bit of a field position battle. It's a high punt. Great.
Nice play there by Caden Fags. Get down the field and hold up the returner.
Caden didn't make the initial tackle, but he sure slowed him down, man. All right, so let's see if the Prexies, our defense rather, can stiffen up here and do what they've been doing all night.
Certainly that defense hoping to make a stand right here. We've talked a lot about field position with River Valley taking over at what looks to be about the 34-yard line. Certainly setting them up in a favorable position right now.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't know what the statistics are, but if you get the ball on the 34-yard line, your odds of hitting pay dirt are probably much greater. Looks like the Prexies might be blitzing off the edge here.
Now, Coach Snyder, did that look to be a little bit of the old G play there?
It did, Coach. It did. Saw a little front side guard pull there. All right, second and about 1 there as the Vikings of River Valley gain 9 on the play.
River Valley lining up in the I formation again. Looks like they'll run dive again.
Oh, I think the Prexies got the ball.
Signals that the ball may have come out.
They're going to call him down. Of course. Hate to sound negative, but come on now. But he probably was down. Lance closed down and made a pretty good tackle there, but when they only have 1 yard for a first down, unless you butt them up and drive them back, if you tackle them and allow them to fall forward, they're certainly going to get it every time. But good play by Lance Roberts.
3 backs in the backfield. A little bit of misdirection there, but the President's defense not fooled.
You know, at this point, you got to blow the whistle, for God's sakes.
And a flag.
I don't understand why in a scrum of kids like that, they're not blowing the whistle. As far as I'm concerned, you're going to get kids hurt when that's the case.
Yeah, officials certainly need to be on the lookout for when forward progress is stopped there.
Absolutely.
As you mentioned, a scrum like that can be potentially dangerous.
Well, it can be dangerous, and then sometimes when teams get together like that, you know, that's when you lose control of ball games. When you allow that to happen, you don't blow a whistle and blow the play dead. That's when dirty things can happen.
Looks like motion again for the Vikings. Hand off to the running back there.
Well, and right now, Valley is just, they're getting a push. Our defensive line just needs to get lower because Valley's offensive line right now is just controlling the line of scrimmage.
You know, and as you mentioned, Coach, controlling the line of scrimmage is certainly such an important part of this game.
Absolutely. Got to get low. Sometimes situations like this, you just got to root hog.
Looks like another first down there maybe for the Vikings.
Good tackle there by Jacob Arndt.
River Valley with the ball on the 12-yard line here as we enter the final 30 seconds of our opening quarter.
Valley's going to be able to get one more playoff here before the first quarter comes to a conclusion. Let's see what they dial up here, and let's see what the Prexies can do defensively.
Looks like a gain of about
maybe
4 there.
4? Yep. And, folks, that will take us to the end of the first quarter with a 0-0 tie. With a 0-0 tie. All right? Rather than take a commercial break, Coach, we're just going to keep on talking, as I can do all night. There's one thing I like to do, it's talk, and there's another thing I like to do is talk football.
Absolutely.
All right, so really at this point, Valley's offense hasn't really done much. I mean, they did get the ball at the 35. They've managed to gain about 25 yards in that time frame. Harding's offense has really had 1 first down. Really, it's just been a lot of defense and a lot of punting up to this point.
You know, and you've got to think that coaches on both sidelines right now are reviewing their game plans, certainly looking at what adjustments the other teams are making. And typically, in a lot of football games, you reach a point somewhere, you know, before or after halftime where those adjustments kind of start to sink in for teams.
Absolutely.
And you see the game kind of shift a little bit.
Absolutely.
So it'll be interesting to see what adjustments each team makes as they get a look at what the other team is doing.
Well, and each team gets a chance to breathe here a little bit before they regroup. All right. 2nd and 7 for the Vikings on the 8-yard line. They still actually can get a first down here. All right. Valley comes out with a 1-back set. Waiting for the ball to be blown live here.
Certainly looks like some tight splits there for their offensive line.
Yeah, absolutely. Quarterback keeper. little.
A little bit of a read play there, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Green on the carry for the Vikings.
Jake Green picks up, I want to say, about 4 or 5 yards, maybe.
You know, and as we mentioned earlier, the option game and the option attack, it's so important that you read your keys and play assignment football, especially down here in the red zone.
Absolutely, especially down here in the red zone. This is where
sometimes
triple option football can get you.
Quarterbacks that may not run a lot in other parts of the field, suddenly down here in the red zone become a much bigger threat.
Absolutely.
A bad snap there.
And he still manages somehow in that comedy of errors to kind of freeze everybody and still manage to get in. Well, and honestly, Coach, that, like I said, when they got the ball at the 35, when you get the ball at the 35, your odds of getting a touchdown, it's pretty good.
Yeah, certainly much, much higher.
Much, much higher.
And I'm sure that'll be a conversation as the defense comes to the sideline. You know, getting the ball there and plus territory for River Valley's offense. You know, the coaches will look for their defense to rebound the next time they're on the field.
There we go.
And that certainly will be a little bit of a boost to the President's defense and their spirits.
And I'm going to tell you, if there's one thing, the Presidents have done some things very well this year, but if there's one thing they have done well, it is going after that PAT. We have done a magnificent job at that this year. And I think that's Tobias Thompson-Reese maybe coming off the edge there.
Yeah, it certainly looked like there's some penetration on the interior and the pressure off the edge there.
Well, and honestly, what the Prexies have to do here, that's what we have to do. We have to get the ball to our athletes, and we got to get the ball to our athletes in space. I believe wholeheartedly that our athletes are better than Valley's. Now, is Valley a very well-coached team? Absolutely. Do they have great kids at Valley? Absolutely. And they're well-coached, they're a disciplined team, and they play well, and they believe in themselves. But we have got to get the ball into the hands of our athletes and just have them make some plays.
And certainly, you know.
And not allow mistakes to kill us.
With it being a 6-0 game, maybe you don't have to score right away, but certainly you want to look to get a couple first downs here, sustain a drive, get your defense a little bit of a break.
Absolutely.
As we get set for the kickoff. A little bit of a miscue there as the ball is fielded at the 21-yard line.
Well, and I got to believe Caden Morris was just like, part of him was trying to pick up the ball and run with it. The other part of him didn't want to drop it. So that was just kind of a perfect kick, quite honestly. Didn't go out of bounds, skated right across the ground.
Certainly looked like it might be headed out of bounds, which would certainly help with your field position, but its momentum didn't quite carry it there.
Well, and the field position battle continues as the Prexies continue to get the ball in bad field position.
Handoff there to Ayers.
Well, and Ayers has to hold on to that ball because Valley is tugging at that ball, that arm that's got the ball.
As the Presidents will set up in 2nd and 5 after a hard run there by Ayers. A little touch pass on the jet sweep. It's Tobias Thompson-Reese.
Well, and he kind of cut it inside there, but I got to believe if he continues on his outside trajectory, he gets a first down. Now, he picked up a couple yards. It was a positive play, don't get me wrong, but he saw a little bit of traffic there and tried to cut it back inside where the Valley defense was waiting for him, basically.
Yeah, that pursuit, when you cut that jet sweep inside, that pursuit can certainly catch up to you. And a flag comes in late here.
Maybe that's a face mask. I got to believe it'd be weird to call a hold after he was already wrapped up by 1 million people there. So maybe this goes for the Presidents, not quite sure.
Some of the Vikings certainly look to be discussing.
And he called a 5-yard face mask. I didn't know those still existed.
You're right, Coach Snyder. My understanding was that there was no 5-yard face mask any longer.
Maybe it's still a high school rule. Maybe we're just so we haven't. You and I both haven't coached high school. You haven't coached in a couple years. I haven't coached in about 6 years. So I don't know. All right, Prexies get a first down off a Valley mistake.
And a nice looking run there for Ayers as they pick up what looks to be about 8 yards.
Okay.
Certainly,
Prexies.
certainly, if you are a fan of the Presidents, which I know we are, you've got to be encouraged by the run game here on this drive as Ayers cuts to the outside and picks up a first down.
Well, and you know as well as I do, the run game opens up the pass game, plain and simple.
It certainly does. Once
Prex is going with
the run
tempo,
game is
too.
clicking, it makes the pass game that much more difficult to defend.
Tobias Thompson-Reese gets the edge, and a flag comes flying in from the back judge.
And it looks like we have a second flag coming in here.
So maybe we'll get negating flags. It's possible. Offsetting. All right, come on. Let's. I don't, man, he's called 2 5-yard face masks, and I don't think those exist. I don't know. I'm going to Google. I'm going to get on my phone and Google.
We will certainly have to look into that.
All right.
As you mentioned, some of the discrepancies at the different levels
Yes,
can make
absolutely.
make it difficult sometimes.
It does make it difficult sometimes to really understand the rules completely and totally.
Interesting to see the Vikings defense there in a 3-man front. Talking to President's coach, Coach Wessler, before the game, he mentioned that River Valley will play both a 3- and 4-man front.
Wink with the.
And a completion there to Caden Fags for what looks to be a first down for the
All
Presidents.
right. Like we said, the run game opens up the
pass game.
Man. We're so simpatico up here, Coach Stone. We're finishing each other's
sentences
or sandwiches, either or. And you're a better bowler than me, so let's just say that. Let's get it out there again. Looks like a little bit of a draw
running
play.
Counter there.
Oh, that's a
Ayers
counter play.
To the edge. A nice run there for DeAndre Ayers.
Well, and I initially thought that was a draw, but you being the old offensive line coach you are, you saw those guards pull, and you knew that was a counter.
And it looks like we've got a flag on the field here as one of the President's offensive linemen makes their way off the field. Looks like they're exchanging helmets.
Wonder what they're going to call here. If it's a hold later, it might be a spot foul.
Unnecessary roughness on the defense here.
Okay.
So tack on a few more yards to that run.
And sometimes I can't help myself up here, but I'm so conditioned sometimes where I try not to be critical of the refs because I know it's hard. It's hard right now to find good refs and just refs in general because fans have just not been good to refs, and it's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. I try hard not to be critical of the refs up here during these games, but also I've seen some calls sometimes where I'm like, so every time I see a flag at a home Harding game, I'm like, here we go again, us against the world. So
well, and I'm certain that your Sunday experiences with the Cleveland Browns also play a factor too.
Oh, my Sundays with the Cleveland Browns play the most monumentous factor in the history of mankind. As Coach Green wants an explanation over there, he's probably saying, hey, man, there's no such thing as a 5-yard. Actually, no, he's not saying there's no such thing as a 5-yard face mask because.
Certainly 5 yards better than 15.
Well,
if you're giving up yardage.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But as you mentioned, Coach, being an official can be difficult sometimes.
Oh, it's a tough job. It's a tough job.
You think
it's
about
a tough job.
It's when do you hear fans or people on the sidelines say, hey, you know what? That was a great call.
You never hear it.
When it goes right, people just kind of expect it. When it goes wrong, if you're the official, you certainly hear about it.
Absolutely.
Another running play here for the Presidents.
There we go.
You know, we talked a little bit about the push up front for the River Valley Vikings. President's offensive line, they're certainly getting some movement.
I see another flag thrown here. I saw the exchange there, and I think it's against Valley. I think it looks like number 99 down there has been getting a little chippy. I think he might have to come out of the game. I think that's his second one.
And we talked earlier in this game about your exchanges with coaches as you come to the sideline, and I have to imagine right now, if that's a second personal foul for the Vikings there, certainly not the same kind of conversation as you leave the field.
No. I'm sure his coach is eviscerating him right now.
Eviscerate. That's
eviscerate.
We're using quite the vocabulary up here this evening.
Absolutely. Well, we are both old social studies teachers. Touchdown! Prexies! Justin Bentley with the touchdown!
And certainly a hard physical run there for the touchdown. And another flag comes in.
And another flag comes in. I certainly hope that this is not a flag against the Prexies. I don't want to see the Prexies lose their cool here. And at this point, if we're getting flags back and forth for unsportsmanlike conduct, the refs have got to make sure that they take control of this game. They cannot allow this game to get out of control.
Absolutely. You are 100% right on that, Coach. As the president set up here with what looks to be a little bit of a muddle huddle.
You know, you and I have talked, and I understand there's reasons why we do the muddle huddle, but the muddle huddle is my absolute positive least favorite thing, no questions asked in all of football.
Even more so than the Pittsburgh Steelers, Coach?
Okay, I'm not a fan of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it looks like this unsportsmanlike conduct is against the Prexies. And like I said, we've had a couple unsportsmanlike conducts back-to-back. It is important that everybody keeps their cool and the refs make sure they keep control of this game. So this unsportsmanlike conduct makes life harder for the Prexies. And what should be a chip shot now becomes a much, much longer PAT. So this is, I hate to say it, but that was a dumb penalty.
You know, and it comes down to focus. And, you know, when you're talking about a football game that's right now 6-6 with a PAT coming, you know, you're talking about a very important play here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 1 point can make all the difference. And the snap is high, and the kick is no good.
So we have ourselves a 6-6 ball game here. And, Coach, like you said, you know, the penalties, the errors, and what has been a very defensive field position game, certainly going to be a point of emphasis for coaches on both sidelines, I'm sure, as we get closer and closer to halftime. Absolutely.
I mean, we, because of that penalty, blew completely and totally. Now, granted, we could have missed the PAT at the 2-yard line, but it's a heck of a lot easier to make at the 2-yard line. We literally just blew a fantastic chance to take a 1-point lead in this game because we allow our emotions to get the best of us. And I will not apologize for my opinion on that. We blew a fantastic chance to have a 1-point lead.
As we get set up for our kickoff here. Yeah, the game of football, like so many sports, you know, mistakes and minimizing your mistakes, certainly such a crucial part of the game at any level.
Absolutely. You know, and up to this point, I mean, the Prexies have played a relatively clean game.
And another short kickoff there from the President's kickoff team.
Well, and I got to believe they must have a dynamite return game because, once again, Valley gets fantastic field position.
You know, like you alluded to earlier in the game, you know, I'm certain that comes from film study, from knowing the Vikings kickoff return team. You know, and sometimes you hear a lot of people say, well, why don't you just kick it out of the end zone? You know, and certainly if you can, you want to, but...
well, at this point, I'd rather just kick it out of bounds and give the ball to him at the 35-yard line, for Pete's sakes. Good tackle there by, looks like, maybe Jacob Barr getting up from the pile there. Mitchell Myers. Mitchell Frederick.
For no gain there.
No mas.
You know, and certainly we've seen the Vikings kind of lean on their running attack and moving the line of scrimmage here. So a play like that, even though it's for no gain, it's not for lost on exciting play, it's still a big moment for the President's defense because offenses like this talk about staying on schedule.
Absolutely.
Steady, consistent gains, chipping away at the defense. So the Vikings come with a little bit of some motion here.
It's kind of that adage as Jake Green tucks it and runs after he's almost sacked about a bajillion times for a 1-yard gain. It's kind of that idea, like you said, staying on schedule, that whole idea of 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Offenses like this, they don't hit big plays much. They just chip away at the stone. So when you get a first down and second down play where you only get 1 yard, it makes things a little harder for them on third down. Maybe they have to call a pass player. They have to get a little more inventive, which makes it easier for the Prexies possibly to defend.
As our Vikings line up here with a little bit of a trips look there on the left.
High throw. Good clean play. Tobias Thompson-Reese on defense there as the Vikings will now punt. And once again, the field position battle continues. 7 minutes and 13 seconds left in what has been a pretty quick quarter and a half, Coach.
You know, a lot of that comes to what we were saying, comes back to, you know, the focus on the running game this evening.
Absolutely.
Running game keeps that clock moving.
High punt. Oh, and Ayers fair catches that. I got to believe he maybe had a chance here to get a couple yards.
And another interesting point here on some of the punts we've seen from the Vikings this evening, it certainly looks like the Presidents are getting some pressure there.
They are, yeah.
So
they
should
really
there be
are.
any disruptions in the timing of the Vikings punting team, you know, we could be looking at maybe a game-changing play in the form of a block or a bad punt. And in a close game like this, those are plays that can have a tremendous influence on the game.
Okay, Prexies on their 18-yard line. Let's see, we've got, looks like Ayers is in a wildcat with Tobias Thompson-Reese.
Again.
DeAndre Ayers keeps it.
You know, and it's interesting, when DeAndre Ayers first came to Marion Harding, he actually was playing quarterback.
He's a good kid, DeAndre.
That he certainly is.
The kid just got a dynamite smile and a personality to match.
And you get another quarterback sweep here to the edge, and a nice move there to force a missed tackle there by Ayers.
So third and about short. Looks like Brady Winks coming back in the game. Got to believe with third and just a little bit to go, we're going to probably see a handoff to Ayers here with Jacob Barr probably acting as a fullback there.
And we've talked about offenses staying on schedule. Right now the Presidents have done that. And just as you said, Coach, a run to Ayers. And maybe another step or two away from a big play there, Coach.
I'm going to tell you, man, whoever number, I want to say 48 is for the
Vikings,
that would be Jared Miracle. Well, he performed a miracle there. Looks like the second string running back for the Prexies is in there. And I don't mean second string as a knock on that young man, but Lance
Roberts in the game.
Lance White Pants Roberts. Little shovel pass to Tobias Thompson-Reese.
And a nice block there on the edge.
Oh! He was down. I hope the kid's okay, though. He kind of landed on his head there a little bit as he went airborne.
He's
laying down.
He's on the ground right now.
He's hurt a little bit.
So we certainly hope that he is okay.
He went airborne.
You know, and it's interesting. You know, Coach Snyder, we had a chance to speak with a Harding alum before the game, and L.J. Scott. Some of our fans may remember a play a few years ago where he hurdled a defender, which actually can result in a flag.
Yeah.
And plays like this kind of, you know, can serve as a little bit of a reminder of why sometimes.
I remember that, yeah. Well, he's moving.
Which is good.
That's a plus. He's moving. You know, we certainly don't want to see any young man get hurt. And you know, and that's kind of why you don't go airborne there. And he didn't really go airborne in the sense of jumping, trying to hurdle somebody. He was just trying to get more yards.
Certainly.
And it looks like, he's stretching his leg. So good. God, that's good. It looks like maybe it's a cramp. I don't know. Or maybe seeing if he's got range of motion there. I know that we have a fantastic dynamite trainer And Timmy, and he's up. He's up.
Good.
He's up, folks. That's
Certainly
a
glad
great,
to see that.
great sign.
And worth mentioning, I certainly agree on your opinion of our trainer.
He's the best.
He
They don't get any better than Timmy. He's
also,
dynamite.
Also happens to be a relative of mine.
Was he like? Are you guys like Marion related or related?
We are cousins.
All right, folks. Tobias Thompson-Reese is up. He's walking. He is good after a scary play where he landed on his neck. And thank God that young man is okay, because that always scares you. God bless America.
As some of his teammates come over to greet him as he comes to the sideline.
Well, and I think something we got to understand about when you play sports, especially football and wrestling, which you and I both played. I mean, daggone it, it's a brotherhood. You sweat with those guys. You bleed with those guys. You cry with those guys. I mean, it's just there's no other feeling like it, Coach. No other feeling like the brotherhood you have when you're a football player.
Absolutely, and you think about the hours and the time that you spend, with the other members of your team. A lot of teams, when you're getting a break at the end of practice or at the end of a game, a lot of teams break it down on family.
Absolutely.
A lot of times, in a lot of ways, they can become a second family.
Well, it's funny, Coach. I mean, I remember all the games I played. I do, but I remember the practices and just the goofy, funny things that would happen in the locker room.
Absolutely, and, as you get further and further removed from the game sometimes, those are some of the things that stick out in your mind.
Absolutely. Ayers on the carry for the Presidents as he continues to have a pretty good game. Looks like 3rd and 5, maybe 4? Long 4?
And I'm going to let the former offensive lineman side show again. And that was a little bit of an interesting play there. It looked like the guard kind of folded around there. A little bit of a different look for that President's offensive line.
A little bit of a rat play there, huh?
Yeah. And a nice run there for Ayers.
Beautiful.
Straight ahead on the dive.
Beautiful seam for DeAndre Ayers Jordan. Come on. Let's go. Let's go, youngsters. Looks like Ayers gets up hobbling there just a little bit, but he's tough. Ayers still picks up about 4 or 5 yards. Looks like Lance White Pants Roberts is coming in as the Prexies are putting together a pretty solid drive.
The President's running game really coming alive right now. The combination of that offensive line getting push and movement at the line of scrimmage with the up-tempo offense the Presidents have run this year certainly seems to be wearing away on that Vikings defense right now.
It does. It looks like we got a Prexy offensive lineman down here a little bit. I think that is...
Looks to be Kyron Rux, the
I think
senior
that's
left
big
tackle.
Kyron Rux. I tell you what, we talk about how great of a kid DeAndre Ayers is. We talk about how great of a kid Tobias Thompson-Reese is. But I'm going to tell you what, that might be one of the finest young men walking the hallways of Harding High School, Kyron Rux. And that's not a knock on any of the other young men that we have on this football team or in our halls at Harding High School, because we have some fantastic, magnificent kids. But that's a good kid right there, Coach.
And he certainly is, Coach Schneider. I've been fortunate to know Kyron Rux actually since the time that he was a 7th grader when I was coaching some junior high football. So I've had a chance to work with him a little bit over the years, and certainly, like you said, a young man with tremendous character. Works incredibly hard.
Fantastic student.
Absolutely.
He's involved in music stuff.
Absolutely.
I mean, and on top of that, he comes from a fantastic family. I mean, they're just the good people all around us. Kyron Rux looks like he hobbles off the field there a little bit. Maybe get the ankle taped up a little bit, put a little spit on it, and maybe he'll be good to go. Certainly would hate to see him lost to the game.
Absolutely. He's really, really done a nice job this year.
All right. Wonder who's going in there to fill in for Kyron Rux. Looks like Jaquavion Brady, I think.
Well, it looks like your left tackle right now would be Caden Hill.
Oh, there we go. Looks like they shuffled things around here a little bit.
And a little bit of that same look that we had mentioned for the Presidents.
A little bit of a fold play, right? A little bit
Certainly
of a wrap.
Looks like it.
Not so much a fold, but more of a wrap play. As Lance White Pants Roberts is still in the game.
So it looks right now like
Oh!
Micah. Oh, and Brady Wink there with a good play just to fall on the football. But it looks like some of that shuffling up front, like you have Micah Cross at center, Jaquavion Brady in at guard, and Caden Hill moving over to left tackle.
Well, and that's exactly what happened. Caden Hill is your normal center, and it just kind of has muddled things up just a little bit. Tobias Thompson Reese. And a great throw. Oh, did he not catch that?
It looks like they signaled out of bounds there on the far sideline.
They signaled out of bounds. Wow. I thought that was dynamite. Boy, I don't know about that. But I'm not down there to see it.
So the President's defense taking the field here.
4 minutes and 4 seconds left in a tie ball game. All right. As Timmy is looking at Kyron Rux, and Tobias Thompson Reese is still being talked to a little bit there on the side. Good open field tackle.
Nice tackle there by Torrey Taylor.
Wow. That was a saver right there, man. Torrey just went and got him by the ankles.
And a little bit of an unsung play there by Ben Kenny as the nose guard. You know, we talked about root hogging earlier, taking out the offensive lineman's legs, certainly kind of creating a little bit of a pile there, not allowing the Vikings to get any push up front. Those are the things that don't show up in the stat sheet but have such an impact on the game.
Absolutely.
And I know, Coach Snyder, that you certainly are a fan of nose guards and the kind of play that you see there.
I'm a fan of all things that have to do with that. And it looks like, I think Kyron Rux is up and walking.
Looks like they've got his left cleat off, which you would think might indicate a little bit of an ankle or foot issue.
Probably going to tape it and try to get him back in the ball game, I got to believe.
Which we certainly hope to see him back out there.
It's like a little bit of a
handoff there on the edge.
As Valley is getting a little bit creative.
That would be number 5, Luke Rogers there for the Vikings, as Caden Hill checks in on defense for the Presidents.
Checking out is Mr. Arndt, I believe. Check that, Malachi Robinson.
Looks certainly like the Presidents trying to get an extra defensive lineman in the field as the Vikings looking to run the football right now.
Little dive there.
We'll hand off to the fullback. You know, and Coach Snyder, you'd mentioned some of the students that walk the halls of Harding High School that do such a tremendous job, and certainly worth a shout-out here this evening for our telecom crew. That puts in a lot of hard work, a lot of hours to put together productions like this and all of our events at Harding High School. So I'd like to give them a little bit of a shout-out here this evening.
Absolutely. There's a little bit of a quarterback sneak, gets a first down for the Vikings. Well, and the Prexies get the ball at half, but it is extremely important here that we do not allow Valley to score here before half with 2 minutes and 25 seconds left.
And the Vikings here certainly in no hurry. They want to chew time off the clock there as they look to score.
3 timeouts left for both teams.
But one of the things that we've talked about, you know, the Presidents certainly with some playmakers that can go the distance on any given snap, as the Vikings run a little counter double there with the backside guard and tackle pulling.
Absolutely. Well, and right now too, I mean, what worries you about the Prexies is we've had a couple injuries. Looks like Tobias Thompson Reese is up running. Looks like he is more than likely going to return to the ball game. Kyron Rux is getting his ankle taped. So, looks like we're getting healthy, considering we had 2 very important pieces go down on what was a very promising drive.
You know, certainly you're right there, Coach, that was an important drive there. President's defense looking to bounce back here and come up with a stand, and as the Vikings are at the 34-yard line.
Vikings called a timeout too as well. So, and right now is probably a good time for a timeout, whether the Vikings called it or whether Harding called it. You just kind of have to go back over assignments, say, hey, you got to look for this, you got to look for that. And right now, the Prexies just have to play solid defensive assignments and just kind of bow their necks here because regardless, Valley is in 4-down territory down here.
You know, and sometimes football being such a game of momentum, sometimes that timeout can be an important piece of winning that battle with momentum.
Well, that certainly isn't the way to allow to stop the Vikings. Can't allow
a run there by Cooper Graham of the Vikings.
It's like our got to believe they're going to go back to Cooper Graham here.
A motion there by the wing as they do indeed hand off to Cooper Graham.
1 minute and some odd seconds left. 1 minute, 30 seconds left. At this point, Graham's just getting 5 yards a chunk, so you got to believe they're going to keep handing off to that young man. This will be a very advantageous time for a Prexy turnover. Prexy's to force a turnover here.
Part of what makes this offense so hard to defend is you get the motion with some of those wings.
Speak of motion, there it is.
And the wing players there. Sometimes, and you see this a lot at all levels of football now, the motion with those wings, you can get so caught up in what they call the window dressing, the lateral movement, all the motion, that sometimes, you know, your fullback running right up the middle sometimes gets lost in all of that.
And can walk right into the end zone with the ball.
And again, you know, we talked about the importance of assignment sound football. You know, all the motion, that kind of stuff makes it especially important. As they go back to number 5 here, Luke Rogers.
That was a great play there. Looks like coming off the edge there. I want to say, was that Mitch Myers maybe? Who made that tackle? Prexies call a timeout.
I'm sure River Valley certainly wanted to talk over what they decide to do here on second down at the 7-yard line. Coach Snyder, do you think maybe a little bit of a play-action look here?
At this point, Coach, Cooper Graham is your pony. Ride him. He's your pony. Ride him.
You know, for those of us listening at home this evening that haven't had a chance to listen to Coach Snyder and I discuss some football before, we have a long-standing disagreement on how you approach the game of football. Coach Snyder, maybe a little bit more conservative on the offensive side of things.
Extremely conservative. I make Jim Tressel look like Steve Spurrier. I'm so conservative.
But we'll chalk part of that up to Coach Snyder's background as a defensive lineman, whereas I spent my time on the offensive side of the ball. You know, certainly a fan of offense and aggression and going for it. So it'll be interesting to see what the Vikings decide to do here.
I would ride
as they come up to the line of scrimmage.
See what the Prexies defense can do here.
And they do indeed go to Cooper Graham.
Yep.
And he is in for the touchdown.
All right. Prexies will get the ball back with, looks like maybe 3 timeouts.
Presidents do indeed have 3 timeouts. And certainly an important PAT coming up here in light of some of the missed PATs by both teams up to this point.
Well, and you got to believe with Coach Green calling a timeout here, they might try to go for 2, Coach.
Yeah, I would imagine. I would not be surprised to see the offense come back on the field here for the point after. You know, a little bit of an interesting situation 2 weeks ago, if you recall. The Presidents intercepted a pass, I believe, on a PAT attempt in the Shelby game. That was a source of a little bit of confusion as, you know, we talked about some of the different rules, the different levels of football, and whether or not you can return a point.
College,
after.
you can.
In college and the pros, you can. I believe, is that a 2-point score?
It's a 2-point score.
But that does not exist in high school football, which, you know, certainly to some of our fans that evening was a little bit of a surprise.
Sure was. People were angry.
They certainly were, but the one thing, and we'll give a little credit here to the officials and the crew in that game, they did stop and explain why that play was blown dead. We talked a little bit about the difficult job that officiating is, and explaining, to those fans in the stand. I thought certainly.
And we were right, Coach. Here we go. $5 says they give it to Cooper Graham.
I would certainly agree here, Coach Snyder. Looks to be that same look, kind of the strong eye look, as they go back to Cooper Graham, and he is in for 2 points.
At this point, we're making it way too easy for that kid to run the ball.
And sometimes for offenses, when they find a play that's working, there can be that mindset of they're going to run it until you find a way to stop it. So certainly the presidents, the defense, their coaching staff, I'm certain we'll be looking into some adjustments and some solutions to that as we get closer to halftime here.
Well, and here's another example of how and why that penalty, when we scored the touchdown, was extremely boneheaded. Because now, in order to tie this ball game, we have to score a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, as opposed to a touchdown and a PAT. That's why you got to play a clean game and you got to avoid penalties as much as humanly possible.
So the President's kickoff return team is getting set. Be interesting to see where the Presidents get the football here. Certainly, you would think would be a big part of the decision-making process for how you approach the remaining 44 seconds.
Well, the Prexies have 3 timeouts, so you can do one of two things. You can go for the gusto, or you can live to play another day when you get the ball at half.
Another kick there in a little bit of a difficult location as Ayers on the return here up to what looks to be, we'll say about the 32-yard line.
That's 4 seconds tick off the clock.
40 seconds, 3 timeouts.
It's not
Coach Snyder, what are your thoughts?
Well, Coach, I'm conservative. But at this time, I say don't be conservative. But the one thing you don't do here is you don't turn the ball over. If you're going to throw it, you're going to air it out. It better be the safest throw that you can ever make.
Certainly, you would think
in the history of mankind.
At this point in the half, maybe a good opportunity to try something, maybe like a screen pass. See if you can get a little bit of a chunk play and determine your next move there.
Maybe a little razzle dazzle here. Maybe reverse. I don't know.
Maybe a little trickeration.
And his eyes were upfield because he dropped that.
Yeah, and certainly
it looked like he had a lot of green.
Yeah, knowing that there were 40 seconds, wanting to make a play for his team. They talk about concentration, when you're trying to catch passes.
All right. As a Prexy checks out of the ball game and then checks back in. And
we mentioned some of the changes on the offensive line there for the Presidents. Certainly can, when you have a change at center, can make things like a snap a little bit of a challenge.
It certainly can.
As the clock continues to run, you would imagine the Presidents here at this point backed up a little bit in what looks to be about 3rd and 13.
It's going to probably
want to take this one to the half.
Yeah, I believe that's probably what they're going to do. No need to run another play here, especially when your first 2 plays were for naught. All right, folks, we'll be back after halftime and the band's performance with the Marion Harding High School Telecom production, where the Vikings of River Valley are leading the Presidents 14-6. All right, folks, and we are back after that magnificent halftime show from our award-winning band. Coach Tone, I'm a little out of breath. Had to hustle to the restroom real quick and get back up here real fast. Tried to keep my head down and walk fast so I didn't have to talk to a million people, make sure I made it on time, and here we are.
Certainly those stadium stairs, no joke. And
they are no joke.
And a little bit of a ladder there after the stairs, so I certainly understand, Coach Snyder.
Absolutely. When you've been doing this for 15 years.
I think
maybe, and you graduated from here, you happen to know everyone and their grandmother, like literally.
Oh, yes.
Yes, you know that.
The Marion experience.
That is the Marion experience. So speaking of the Marion experience, we got Marion Harding High School versus RV. 14-6. The Prexies get the ball at half here. Let's see if they can respond to a touchdown that the River Valley Vikings were able to score at the end of the first half. Prexies keep the ball on the ground as our
a little bit of maybe a hot mic moment there for the PA.
Our PA announcer goes, ooh. But I'll take that. That's good field position.
Good field position.
Great field position.
Certainly accurate commentary there from the PA.
A very accurate commentary. Ooh.
But I'm sure the president's very happy to get the ball at this field position. The Vikings kickoff team had certainly, prior to this, done a good job placing the ball in some difficult areas.
Absolutely.
Some that look like they might carry out of bounds.
Absolutely. And it looks like all of our injured players at the end of the first half are healthy and back in the ball game.
Coach, this might be the best field position we've had to start a drive.
Caden Fags turns the corner. Oh! I got it.
Down out of bounds.
Man, I don't want to tell them they should call a penalty, but that was pretty close to horse collar, and I think that's still a thing in high school, right?
And it certainly is a thing, Coach Snyder, but I think when you look at the hand placement, maybe because it was a little lower in the shoulder pads.
Yeah, fair enough.
Just
when you see him get pulled back a little bit, you just go, ooh.
Certainly. But definitely a nice play there for the Presidents.
Oh!
And the hook and ladder.
Oh!
Ayers.
And Ayers takes a shot from number 26. 26, Carson Miller was like, oh, I just gave you a shot. But
the President's offense certainly has come out swinging here to open up the second half.
Must have drawn some stuff up in the sand there at halftime, Coach.
I've got to think that that a lot of this was in the game plan from the beginning. I talked to Coach Wessler before the game, and as a little bit of a joke, I said, so, hey, Coach, how many trick plays are you going to run tonight? He said none, and one reverse and one hook and ladder later. I'm starting to wonder if he maybe pulled a fast one there on me, Coach.
Yeah, he could have. Dylan Swentz.
A nice run.
With the handoff.
Looks like that might be maybe Lance Roberts there.
Was that Lance or Dylan Swent?
We'll see as we
Lance has got that
pile.
Shock of Robert Plant. That's Lance.
Yes.
Wow, Lance White Pants. I thought it was Dylan Swent for whatever reason, as Dylan has been the other running back at different times this year. Lance.
Counter single there. Nice run by Lance Roberts.
Fantastic run by that kid. Caden Fags checks in the ball game. Lance White Pants checks out.
We've got 5 wide receivers on one side of the formation here. It'll be interesting to see if are we lined up right here? Do we have 2 receivers on the ball on this side?
Well, we still have plenty of time on the clock as far as the play clock.
So very much a different look here for the Presidents.
Caden Fags with the ball in his hands.
A nice move there.
Well, and Caden Fags comes from a lineage of fastness. I was blessed to play with his father, who was a magnificent teammate and an even faster human being.
And I was fortunate to play and also coach with his uncle, Bryson Fags, who I believe is in attendance this evening.
Yeah, and Bryson is one of the, I would put him up there, probably one of the top 5 backs in the history of Marion Harding High School.
Absolutely, and when you think about the history of players at the running back position at Harding High School, that's certainly good company to be in.
Ayers keeps it. Looks like he maybe gets a first down there.
A little bit more of that Wildcat package we've seen this evening.
Based upon where the ref is standing. Oh, I got to believe this. Okay, never mind. 4th down for the Prexies.
4th down here. Big play coming up here.
Huge play.
In the Wildcat again. Keeper for the quarterback.
Oh, and he scores!
That looks to be...
That looks to be good. Oh!
They're signaling it just short.
How can you
certainly,
not?
Coach Snyder, it certainly looked to me to be a touchdown.
That
Ayers
looked to
reaching there
be.
to extend the football. But you know what? This President's offense and their no huddle, you know, getting right back to the line of scrimmage, getting set.
Looks like big Cameron Rayner, which is a gigantic body, coming in the ball game.
Worth mentioning, Mr. Cameron Rayner, a freshman checking into the game.
Justin Bentley.
With his second touchdown of the evening, Coach Snyder.
All right, so they got to go for two. They got to go for two. All right. Always the fireworks whenever the Prexies score. The four guys come to run out of the game. They're like, no, stay in there. Jacob Haldeman checks off the field.
Looks like we've got some little bit of confusion here with some of the personnel. Another handoff there to Justin Bentley, going laterally and stopped short of the goal line.
Well, and I got to believe if Justin doesn't try to bounce that out and stays right, like I believe his path was supposed to go based upon the stacked wide receivers we saw over there on the right, he may have gotten in on that. But tried to replay a little bit of that touchdown, and the Vikings were there waiting for him. So now it is 14-12, and I don't want to continue to go back to this mistake, but that penalty on that first touchdown has come back to haunt us as we find ourselves down by 2 points as opposed to possibly a tie ball game.
And so the President's defense will be soon making their way back out onto the field. Certainly hoping for a little bit of a better stand than the last time they were on the field.
Well, and certainly I hope that we find a way to not allow the Vikings to have great field position like we have every single time tonight.
You know, and Coach Snyder, we had a little bit of a conversation there at halftime. The trap play, you know, and River Valley's success running the trap play with the fullback. You know, I'm certain that the President's coaching staff had a conversation about that at halftime.
And they Prexies
kicking it deep.
Kick it deep. There we go. Now, the trap play has become much harder to defend, though, as we continue to create rules in football that benefit the offense. You can't wrong arm or blow up that puller and take out his legs like you used to be able to. And to me, I don't agree with that. Your thoughts on that as a former offensive lineman?
Well, so as a former offensive lineman and also a short stint as a defensive line coach, you know, you can still wrong arm and keep leverage and keep the necessary arm free. You just can't take out the offensive player's legs. You know, we talked a lot about, you know, the safety of the game. You know, we've had a couple of injuries this evening, and certainly that's not what we want to see, you know, in a high school game or really at any level. You know, so I'm in favor of keeping the game safe. Certainly, you know, that can at times favor the offense and make playing defense a little bit harder. But
well, I know this. When a guy has a running start and he's pulling to try to ear hole you and take you out, you've got to do everything you can to protect yourself. If he's allowed to take that helmet and put it in your ear, then you should be allowed to go low and take his legs out. I'm all for keeping players safe, but at the same time, too, the rules that continue to be, that trickle down from the NFL to high school football, that take away from the integrity of the game, I have a problem with. But that's just my 2 cents as a former defensive lineman.
The Vikings there with the double wing, handing it off to the wing. Number 8. That would be Braden Boyd for the Vikings.
Looks like they had like a double pull there, too, by the way.
Yeah, and that goes back to some of the different motion elements and some of the different looks, you know, trying to create some confusion there. Even if you just get some of those linebackers to take a false step, sometimes that can be enough to create a play, create an opportunity there.
Well, and that false step that you can get a linebacker to take allows you to get that edge because that linebacker is just a second away from scraping as they're supposed to scrape.
President's a little bit of a blitz there inside.
And it looks like the Presidents Looks like they might give him a little bit of forward progress there.
Looks to be a first down there for the Vikings as the chains move.
Well, and you talked about staying on schedule. You get 3 yards. You get 4 yards. You get 3 yards. And that's exactly what happened. It's all about staying on schedule. So the Prexies really here on first down have got to look for that negative play. And they may have found it there.
Could this be it, Coach Snyder, as they...
Looks like Q is in on the tackle as he's trying to pump up the crowd. We got the negative play there. So now it becomes 2nd and 11, which can change a little bit of what they're doing.
You know, for this Vikings offense, their comfort zone certainly seems to be running the ball, firing out, trying to win at the line of scrimmage. So second long situation might favor the President's defense here a little bit.
Changes things up just a little bit.
So we have trips here to the near sideline. A screen and a physical tackle there by DeAndre Ayers.
That was pretty well blocked, though, by the Vikings. Good. The only thing is when you go in for a kill shot like that, you got to be careful just because, not that that wasn't a good hit, but sometimes that kill shot, you hit them hard, but you don't knock them down. That's why it's always important that you wrap up and you drive through the ball carrier and you don't try for that kill shot. Great play by Mr. Ayers, taking nothing away from him. Just
a little interesting there that the Vikings lined up with the trips look. And a flag comes in.
I believe it might be encroachment. No, they're
Looks
calling
like a signal for false start.
Wow, okay. There we go. Goes a little bit the way of the boys in black there.
And we talked about the importance, for these teams minimizing mistakes, and certainly one there that may come back to hurt the Vikings there a little bit.
Well, and I got to believe, too, that with it being 3rd and 6, I bet you they're going to give it to Mr. Graham or possibly throw a little bit of that swing pass again, a little bit of that kind of a screen/swing pass there. So they come out and double wings. A little bit of motion.
Look again. Handoff to the wing, cutting it back.
Oh! And that is why you don't. That is why you don't go for the kill shot. Mr. Ayers lowered his head, went for the kill shot there, and they were able to get a first down there. All right.
Again, there with some of the motion and some of the movement, makes reading your keys difficult, makes it challenging.
It does.
Vikings moving the chains for a first down there.
Well, and
you got that trips look again, so it'll be interesting to see if they go back to that bubble look, as the Vikings seem to have the numbers there to the trips side.
And we blitz, but we blitz away from it and really aren't able to get Mr. Graham there.
That looked again to be that guard pulling and kicking out the end man, the old G look, a staple here at Harding High School from the Tim Hinton days.
Well, once again, that G look is very hard to defend as a defensive lineman, as a defensive end, when you're not allowed to go low on these guys anymore. Once again, as I stated before, I'm all for player safety, but at the same time, too, it has to be fair for the defense to protect themselves and also, stop the play.
Handoff. Actually a keeper there for the quarterback.
Looks like he picks up about 3, 4 maybe.
The ball carrier there would be Jake Green.
It's like Ben Kenny checking out of the game.
Ben Kenny coming out of the game.
Might be bleeding or something.
Looks like he's holding his wrist a little bit maybe. Although it looks like maybe he's getting some feedback from his position coach.
Yeah. I saw Coach Slater kind of on him right now about, possibly a little extracurricular talking out there maybe.
We certainly talked in the first half, the impact. Oh, and that's a great play there from the nose guard position, Coach Snyder.
Nose guard position.
I don't know if the nose guard there, Caden Hill, will get credit for that tackle, but, man,
that's
he made that
what
play.
You do. You create a pile. Great job by Colin Hamburger Hill. I like that. I called his brother. Did I call him Colin?
Yes.
Oh, my God, I called him his brother. That's Kate and Colin. You know.
Although we were just talking to
They
Colin
didn't name
at
him like
halftime.
Pete. Come on, Jeff and Rachel. You didn't name him Pete or Shane. You named him Caden and Colin. I mean, that's easy to mess up. Sorry about that, Caden Hill, not Colin Hill. All right, that trips look again.
Trips look again. So what's interesting here, you have 3 receivers for the Vikings, 2 defensive backs there for the Presidents. Going back to that screen.
Nothing doing for the Presidents.
Had that been caught cleanly, I don't know that the Vikings pick up much there, as you got a great play there by the Presidents' defensive backs.
The Presidents read that like, I don't know. No good analogies there.
Maybe a book?
Read that like a book.
So what's interesting, football, such a game of numbers so often. You know, seeing if you can outnumber somebody somewhere and can that lead to a big play? The Vikings on 4th down here in the gun. Jake Green drops back to pass. Jaquavion Brady with the pressure. That would be Cooper Graham down at the 1.
That was a great throw and a great catch.
A great play there to lay out for the ball by Cooper Graham.
Yeah.
Cooper Graham having himself a little bit of a game tonight.
He's having himself a game.
So the President's defense here certainly looking to stand tall as the ball is set at the 1-yard line.
Well, and I got to believe that we're going to see Graham get it here. It's this.
I would have to agree with you there, Coach Snyder.
And
Met at the goal line, but Cooper Graham makes it in for the touchdown.
Yep, and the Vikings score 6 to make it a 20-12 game, where once again a
big play here on the PAT.
Yes, this could be a great play here on the PAT. If the Prexies are able to block this, it becomes a touchdown, 2-point conversion game.
No good.
No good.
So a big play there by the Presidents on the point after, keeping it an 8-point ball game. Touchdown and a 2-point conversion would tie the game.
And at this point, you know, really at this point, the Prexies just don't have an answer for Cooper Graham. If they could find a way, that young man is having himself a whale of a game and has pretty much been their whole offense up to this point. Jake Green's done some good things, and he's had a run here or there. I think they passed the ball like maybe 5 times today, and one of them is a huge throw to Cooper Graham. I mean,
it's certainly an impressive play there to make that catch there at the 1-yard line. You know, for all our talk in the first quarter and first half of the battle of field position and defense, certainly right now, the story of the third quarter, the offense. You know, they seem to have gone in and gathered some answers and have a little bit of a different ball game here the second half. Presidents field the kickoff there. Number 21, Caden Morris. Looks like the Presidents get the ball at the 26-yard line.
Looks like both teams actually decided to start kicking the ball off to the other one after halftime.
So as the President's offense gets ready to make their way onto the field, Coach Snyder, any thoughts on what we might see out of this offense here?
Well, I think we're going to see a little bit more of the same. You're going to see Ayers run the ball. You're going to see us try to get the ball in Tobias Thompson-Reese's hands. I haven't really seen Jacob Hoffman do much tonight. He's kind of been our go-to receiver at different times this year. So I don't know, Coach. It will be interesting to see, but the Prexies certainly need to answer here as we have been unable to stop River Valley their last 2 drives.
As the Presidents drop back to pass, going deep, out of bounds. And the intended receiver there for the Presidents, Jalen Troutman. You know, sometimes, Coach, on those deep shots down the field, even if you don't connect on them, they can still open things up for your offense.
Absolutely. They have your DBs start thinking deep and opens up a little bit of the game underneath.
A little bit of Misdirection there, the jet sweep. Ayers with the handoff. You know, the President's offense, very much the same way as River Valley, you know, a little bit of a different type of motion, but still a lot of moving pieces, you know, and trying to freeze some of those linebackers, some of those players in the second level of the defense.
Oh, and I understand what Brady Wink's trying to do there, but if he actually holds that ball and runs, he had enough green for a first down, Coach.
Brady Wink was under pursuit there.
A lot of duress there, and I understand why he threw it. I don't blame him for that, but he certainly had a lot of green there in front of him. Should be noted that what should be a monstrous crowd here, as I am sure suffered because of the Big Ten's greed and putting their Buckeyes on a football Friday night.
Oh, this is interesting. They're going to call the punter down, saying that his knee made contact with the turf on a snap, giving the Vikings the ball here inside the 20-yard line.
That is a mistake. That is certainly not good.
So now the President's defense stepping up here to a big challenge. Vikings offense getting the ball inside the 20. Certainly you'd like to see the President's defense come away with a turnover here. You know, get a stop.
Well, this is
a momentum back in our favor.
This is a have-to-have stop here.
Cooper Graham on the handoff. Gain of about 3 there. Interesting to see a lot of Presidents up there at the line of scrimmage. Looks like maybe we changed our coverage maybe in the back end to get more defenders up near the line of scrimmage. And you see Caden Hill checking into the game for Mr. Ben Kinney.
7736. If you have that, take it to the concession stand. 7736 for 184.50.
The Vikings come to the line of scrimmage, facing 2nd and 8 at the 15-yard line. Handoff again to the wing. It looks like the ball may have been out.
Go!
Signaling that the running back was down for the Vikings. The Presidents certainly disagreeing with that call. You know, and Coach Snyder, I'm not typically one to question officiating, but it certainly appeared to me as though that play was still alive.
Absolutely.
Looks like. As the official explained,
they called an inadvertent whistle.
So
So because somebody got happy with their whistle, the Presidents are robbed of a turnover. That's just no other way to put it than that.
You know, and I know in moments like this, certainly a lot of frustration. I know Coach Slater has spoken several times about this team and standing up to adversity and challenging situations. Certainly here, the President's looking to handle adversity. And the officials explaining that it will be 3rd down for the Vikings.
So that's a bad call. I'm just going to say it.
I can't argue there, Coach Snyder. I cannot. It looks like.
I mean, an inadvertent whistle like this could change the complexity of the whole ball game. The whole ball game.
You know, if that play continues, that certainly is a game-changing play there. You know, and this game.
It absolutely is a game-changing play.
This game comes down to a few plays, and. The crowd here certainly not happy with that call.
Not happy. And, you know, inadvertent whistles are part of the game. I mean, they are. Doesn't make it not a bad call. It is part of the game, but it doesn't make it not a bad call.
So, Coach Snyder, how long until we see the instant replay review option at the high school level?
Probably, who knows, probably never. But here's the thing, though. I mean, the Prexies aren't put in this position if we don't have a bad snap, and we don't basically turn the ball over literally on 4th down.
Cooper Graham on the carry there. Inside the 5-yard line.
First down and goal, River Valley.
I mean, and I just, if we don't put I don't know. I can't even extrapolate on that. That's just a terrible call. Just bad.
But there's certainly the President's defense here needs to stand up and play the next play. Looks like the Vikings offense to the 1-yard line. As we are counting down the last minute and a half here of our third quarter.
Second down and goal.
This President's team has certainly faced its share of adversity this year with some rain delays, with a delay due to the lights going out. So hopefully, in another moment of adversity, this President's defense can find a way to stand up and get a stop here.
Well, let's hope so.
Got to imagine if you're River Valley, they might look to run the ball here.
Oh, I'm sure Cooper Graham's going to get it. Nope.
Quarterback keeper for Jake Green. That would be a touchdown for River Valley.
So now what is a 8-point game becomes a 14-point game as the referees completely blow a call.
And it looks like the Vikings offense staying out here for the point after.
And at this point, the Prexies have had zero answers for Cooper Graham. So I got to imagine that young man's going to get the ball.
Handoff to the wing. A little bit of maybe some over pursuit there as the wing comes around.
Yep.
The 2-point conversion was good. 41 seconds left in the third quarter. River Valley 28.
So that inadvertent whistle makes a huge swing in the ball game. Basically becomes a 8-point swing.
So the President's certainly needing to put together a drive here with 41 seconds left in the third quarter.
As the official sports medicine provider for Marion City Schools, Ohio Health is proud to keep our athletes healthy and in the game.
Maybe we'll see a little bit more of the Wildcat look that we've seen from DeAndre Ayers and Tobias Thompson-Reese.
Very possible.
Maybe another throw down the field like we saw from Brady Wink on first down to start the last drive. As we get set for the kickoff.
All right, fans, up on your feet.
The kickoff fielded here by number 2, DeAndre Ayers, taken down at about the 20-yard line.
DeAndre Ayers on return for Verdi.
All right, the President's setting up. First and 10 at the 20.
20-yard line.
Still plenty of football left to play for the Prexies.
The key here, if you're the Presidents, you need a drive, you need a score, and then you got to get back and play well on the defensive side of the ball, Coach.
Absolutely.
Marion Harding, 1989, celebrating their 30th reunion tonight. Welcome.
And Winks, pass complete to Capdeville.
Jemiah Capdeville.
First down, Harding.
Prexy's running a little bit of hurry-up offense here.
And that's one advantage for the Prexies. They are used to the up-tempo, no-huddle look that you'll need at this part of the game. And DeAndre Ayers brought down awful late out of bounds.
Yeah,
And that's not the first time that's happened this evening.
No, it's not. It is not. And now he's laying on the ground as our trainer runs over.
And another whistle. As DeAndre Ayers is still down on the President's sideline. Tackled well out of bounds, Coach.
Well out of bounds. Out of bounds.
I can't believe that there's not a flag out on this play.
I completely and totally agree.
We certainly hope that DeAndre Ayers is all right. "19 seconds left here in the third quarter.
DeAndre Ayers gets up.
Back on his feet. Walking under his own power. Certainly an encouraging sign. And so the President's here facing 2nd and 5 on the 37.
Once again, as you said, 19 seconds left until the fourth quarter.
Short pass complete to Tobias Thompson-Reese.
It's like the Prexies gain maybe 2 yards on that.
DeAndre Ayers back on his feet, speaking to our trainer, doing a little bit of running, saw a little hopping and some jumping. So hopefully we'll get to see him back out there soon. And the jet sweep look to Caden Fags, then the handoff to Lance Roberts.
The Prexies gain no yards on that, and
Presidents will be facing 4th down.
that will be the end of the third quarter.
That's the end of the third quarter. River Valley 28, Marion Harding 12.
Certainly a big play coming up here for the President's offense.
It'll be 4th and I believe 3.
And with the change in quarters, the coaching staff getting a chance to talk it over with the offense, trying to find and draw up the right play for this situation. Any thoughts, Coach Snyder, on what we might see on this 4th down?
Well, I got to believe you're going to see some type of maybe draw, possibly maybe a trap play of some kind. Who knows? Or maybe a screen. I mean, at this point, Coach, the Prexies have ran the ball well, but I really don't know what they might call on this. But I know if we do not get this here and we turn the ball over on downs, still got a whole quarter left to play, but
certainly would put the Presidents in a difficult situation.
It would put them in a very, very difficult
situation. Looks like we'll see the Wildcat look again as DeAndre Ayers gets set at quarterback.
DeAndre Ayers, Tobias Thompson-Reese back there.
You know, as much running as they've done out of this Wildcat look here, and DeAndre Ayers himself being a former quarterback, I got to wonder if maybe they might draw up a passing play out of this look.
It'd be interesting to see.
You talk about tendencies, now might be the time.
And I got to believe Valley looked like they were a little bit offsides on that. Looked like they were a lot offsides on that. Looks like they were a lot offsides on that.
We have a Viking down on the field.
Looks like Valley was a lot offsides on that. So if you're at home watching this game, please rewind it and shoot me a message on Facebook and tell me if they were offsides, because that looked offsides to me. And maybe they timed it up perfectly. I don't know, but it looked offsides to me.
First and 10 from the Harvard 40.
Handoff there to Cooper Graham again.
And it looks like the best defender on that play was one of Valley's football players as he ran into his own player. And once again, I gotta think when there's a scrum of football players like that. I mean, they blow an inadvertent whistle down here when we get a turnover. When there's a scrum of football players like that, you gotta blow the whistle. Somebody's gonna get hurt.
Flag here.
Flag on play.
Sideline warning.
Calls a sideline warning on the Presidents. Calls a sideline warning on the Presidents. Not a flag right now, not a penalty, but it's a sideline warning.
And the Vikings get set here on 1st and 10. The wing getting the handoff there.
And he cuts back.
President's defense, certainly has been keeping that wing handoff from getting to the edge, but when that wing cuts back inside, the Presidents have struggled a little bit.
Yeah, they've struggled pursuing and scraping to that. So what was a one-score game got marred by a bad call and became a two-score game, and now Valley has just kind of taken over this game and blown it open 34-12. And for whatever reason here that I will not understand, I believe they're going for two. I don't understand this. If they are, in fact, going for two, I don't understand this. Yeah, I don't understand this. I'm just going to tell you right now, I don't understand this.
Imagine, I think the Vikings are...
I don't understand.
They've been 0-3 at this point on the point after kick, so perhaps factoring into their decision to go for two. Which they do convert for 2 points.
But at this point, you've got a 34-12 lead. What are you going to do by scoring 2 points? You've shut down our offense. I mean, is this a high school football game or is this a PlayStation game? I just don't agree with the decision there to go for two. Yes, should we stop the play? Absolutely. But at the same time, too, going for two there, I'm sorry, but that's a little much. I personally would not make that call, Coach Stone.
I've got to agree, Coach Snyder. Even if your kicker has had a difficult night, at some point you've got to get them out there, get some game reps, and try to improve in that area of the game.
Well, and there may very well come a time where you need a PAT.
Absolutely.
And really at this point, if you're going for a 2-point conversion, what are you really trying to do? Are you trying to run up the score? I don't understand that. I mean, you have a 22-point lead, and I guess that's not good enough. You want a 24-point lead.
Kickoff fielded by Caden Morris. Looks like he'll be taken down at about the 31-yard line.
Ladies and gentlemen, if your name is Ethan Pickens, we found your wallet. You need to go to
President's getting ready for a first down and 10. And a nice catch there by Tobias Thompson-Reese.
Well, I don't think Tobias was quite expecting it. He just turned around, and there was the
suddenly
ball.
The ball was there.
Yeah.
A nice throw there by Brady Wink, throwing that seam route to Tobias Thompson-Reese. As the Presidents get back to the line quickly here. Dropping back to pass again. Wink's pass complete to Capdeville. Second looks to be about 4 yards for the Presidents. Wink back to pass again, completed to Ayers in the flats. Enough for a first down for the Presidents.
Enough for a first down. And
an interception there by River Valley's Cooper Graham.
And Cooper Graham continues to have a night. That kid is pretty sure he'll be up for Player of the Week for the Marion Star.
I would have to imagine.
Jeez, old Pete. That kid's been Mr. Everything for River Valley tonight.
That he has.
As the Prexies just continue to misfire. And really, I mean, we can sit up here and we can say, hey, that was a bad call and that inadvertent whistle. That was this, that was that. But, you know, the reality is that we have put ourselves in bad positions. We haven't been able to stop Cooper Graham. We've had some mistakes that have just been tough. It's like number 9
Valley,
there on the tackle.
That'd be number 5, Luke Rogers, the wing.
Skylar Honecker on the tackle. So, yeah, I know at times we've been critical of the refs, but at the same time, too, you know, if you don't put yourself in those positions, you don't have to worry about a call that you believe doesn't go your way. Because you're going to have
Absolutely
calls
right,
every single game. They're going to go your way, Coach, and they're not going to go your way. But the reality is if you do not put yourself in those positions, then you do not have to worry about when those calls don't go your way.
The handoff to Cooper Graham there.
Cooper Graham continues to play chess while the Prexies defense plays checkers.
Third down and 1, River Valley.
River Valley with 3rd and 1 at the 49-yard line.
Well, and at this point, you know, I'm a little disappointed because I really felt like the Prexies matched up very well against River Valley. I really, truly felt like we had the talent and the scheme to win this ball game, but second half just really hasn't been kind to us.
And a quarterback sneak for Jake Green.
Jake Green on the carry. First down and 10 at the Harding 44-yard line.
That'll be a first down for the Vikings.
Well, and unless a miracle happens, it looks as if the Prexies will have nipped Pleasant this year, but not River Valley, who Pleasant beat. So the transitive property, not always the case. Just because you beat somebody that beats somebody doesn't mean that you can beat that person that they beat. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Football, a game of matchups, and sometimes different teams present different challenges.
Well, and sometimes you just see different teams on different nights.
So we have a flag being thrown here.
I got to believe from where that flag was thrown, we're probably looking at a holding call possibly.
As it certainly looks to be the case.
So, call goes the Prexy's way. A little late, but like I said, if you don't put yourself in bad position, you don't have to worry when those calls do not go your way.
First down and 20, River Valley. At their own 46-yard line.
As the fans are exiting.
We are just under 7.5 minutes here in the fourth quarter. Cooper Graham with the handoff. Gain of what looks to be about 8.
Well, and we talked to, boy, this is a young Prexy's team. There are a lot of 15-year-olds out there, Coach.
Yeah, there certainly are. And, for the President's fans that are listening to this broadcast from the stands this evening, like you mentioned earlier, it's got to be an encouraging sign. Lots of those faces will be returning next year. And certainly will be a year, older, wiser, and have spent some time in the weight room or doing some other sports in the off season.
Well, and I don't know what coach said it. I've heard a couple people say this coach said it, that coach said it, but I always remember a coach saying, you're pretty much going to lose a game for every sophomore you put on the field.
And that's an expression that I've heard many times as well, Coach Snyder.
And that's nothing against those sophomore players because they're out there for a reason because they're the best at their position. But there's a difference between a 15-year-old kid and a 17 or 18-year-old kid. There's just a difference in maturity. There's certainly a difference in experience.
As Cooper Graham takes the handoff out of the shotgun there.
Should be noted, the Buckeyes game, which I think everybody stayed home to watch tonight. It's 7-3. Was talking to Rob McCurdy, the sports editor for the Marion Star, during halftime, and he was telling me that he's been talking to other sports writers. They've been, communicating on Twitter, and there are a lot of football games going on tonight that are ghost towns. You have Mansfield Senior versus Worcester, who are both 7-0 teams for first place in their conference, and there's nobody there. You've got the Olentangy teams, two of the 47 Olentangy teams, because there's like 47 Olentangies that have been built, playing each other, and that's a huge rivalry. It's a ghost town.
It certainly is, yes.
It's a ghost town.
And we have a flag coming in late.
Wonder what that flag is.
Certainly, Coach, as we've mentioned a few times in our broadcast here, why college football why some of those decision makers in college football felt it necessary to encroach on high school football Friday nights.
And football Friday nights they're like a religious experience. I mean, that's what small towns in America live for.
Absolutely.
Know? The Friday night lights, the high school bands, the smell of the food. And, and whether your team wins or loses, I mean, the Friday night football game, it's an event. It's an event.
Is.
I mean, we went to Mansfield-Madison last week where, bless their hearts, they haven't won a game all year. But there were a lot of people there.
Still an incredible crowd.
Still an incredible crowd there.
And an incredibly hospitable environment.
Absolutely.
A lot of nice people there at Mansfield-Madison. And like you said, the crowd, the turnout, Friday Night Football is about a lot more than just the football. From the
it's
the
about
band
it's
and
about
their parents.
Well, not
and
only
younger
that,
siblings.
every
and,
single person that walks in this building, that walks in the stadium tonight and buys a ticket, that the sale of that ticket benefits these youngsters.
Absolutely.
And
to speak a moment to the importance of Friday Night Football and the lasting impression that it can leave. I was very fortunate this evening before we came up here for the broadcast. I got to meet, kind of a big name in Harding High School athletic history, a man by the name of Greg Swepston.
Great man.
Who's spent a lot of time around Harding athletics. Was a teacher at Harding High School. He was out here this evening to see the Presidents play.
Well, and Greg Swepson was a guy who was athletic director for a long time and made some very, very important hires that led to a lot of our athletic success in the 90s and early 2000s at Marion Harding High School. He certainly hired an Ed Henning as a wrestling coach. He hired a Tim Hinton as a football coach.
Both of those gentlemen Hall of Famers, Athletic Hall of Fame at Harding High School.
Absolutely, and Greg Swepson is he's just a dynamite human being, and he is as red and black as they come.
Certainly, and I got the chance to meet him for the first time this evening, and I can certainly see what you're saying. It speaks a lot about the importance of events like this to the entire community.
Well, and
not just the athletes and their families.
and like you and I were talking about earlier, the Big Ten, and I don't blame Ohio State because Ohio State's going to play whenever the Big Ten tells them to. The Big Ten can print its own money, but tonight, because the Big Ten decided to have a game tonight, they took thousands. I guarantee you when you add it all together, they took millions of dollars out of the local high school economies. We are probably easily a couple $1,000, if not more, down on our gate tonight than we would have been. So I want to know what the Big Ten's going to do, if the Big Ten is going to compensate these high school football teams, these high school football players, with their big TV contracts and their Nike jerseys and all of the things they have going on. What are you going to do for this senior in high school who maybe he's only going to play 2 more games in his career? And it's bad enough that the NFL's on like 7 nights a week. You got Sunday, Monday, Thursday. That's only 3, but still.
Well, and it's certainly, when you've got 3 nights a week with professional football, a lot of challenges in the schedule there, teams with short turnarounds, that kind of stuff.
Well, think about it, you play on Sunday, and then you got to turn around and play on Thursday.
Yeah, it's short turnaround.
How's that fair?
And football is such a game of preparation. And if the team you're facing is coming off of a bye week, it can certainly create some challenging situations for the teams there.
Well, and my thing is, if the NFL is going to have games on Thursday nights, then any team that plays on a Thursday night should be coming off a bye week. It should be that way. And if they can't figure it out in the schedule, then they shouldn't do it. And I used to love Thursday night college football games. There used to be some big matchups on there, but now they don't have as big a matchup as they used to have because of the NFL. Although last night you had Stanford and UCLA playing, which should usually be a pretty good matchup, but both of those teams not having really good seasons. River Valley looks to punt. Prexies choose to not return it. 3 minutes and 47 seconds left in a game that has been owned by the River Valley Vikings, or at least the second half. But, at the very least, the Prexies here can get a score, what I call a pride score,
Absolutely.
Make the end result not look as bad on that box score tomorrow morning in the Marion Star.
And a drive like this can certainly help you carry a lot of momentum into the next week as you prepare for your next game.
And at this point, the Prexies got to travel to what should be a tough Clear Fork team. I know Clear Fork and Pleasant played tonight. Great catch
Winks
by
pass complete to
Jalen Troutman.
Coach Snyder, I got to notice that's the I think the second time this evening that we've been in unison there on the call.
Second down and 2.
There we go. 2nd and 2 for the Prexies of Marion Harding.
Pass complete to Ayers in the flats. So he makes his way out of bounds.
First down for Mr. DeAndre Ayers.
First and 10.
Evening's gotten a smidge crisp here, Coach Stone.
You know, to me, this is football weather.
It sure is. Doesn't get any better than this, that's for sure, as far as the weather. Like to see a little better results for the Prexies.
Certainly. And so what you see there, your middle screen, where all of your offensive linemen are making their way up the field, the receiver trying to slip in behind them, certainly timing such an important element of that play, and the timing just a little bit off there as some of the Vikings were sitting there in the path of receiver.
Well, and you know, Coach, that's sometimes a tough throw to make if you are Brady Wink when you got a bunch of people breathing down your neck and looking at you. Looks like the ref's talking to 99 about taking it easy there and not putting too much of a hit on Mr. Wink. And, you know, going back to the NFL, Coach Stone, the NFL has almost, in my personal opinion, become unwatchable because they call flags on everything. They just won't let them play.
Well, and
And
certainly,
I'm not even talking about the Browns being flagged 1,000 times. I'm just talking about watching the game in general. It's
certainly an
almost unwatchable.
Interesting wrinkle added this year with the ability to review pass interference calls.
Yeah. And the Prexies decide to punt it here, and I don't blame them for this. I mean, at this point, if you get a first down, what's it going to get you? Nothing. Because there's no such thing as a 24-point play in football with 3 minutes left. But if you don't get a first down here, you turn the ball over, and obviously Valley has 3 minutes left and is in pretty good position to, possibly score another touchdown. And that's just something that's demoralizing that you don't want.
As Jacob Hoffman's punt rolls to the 29-yard line. Just under 3 minutes left in our fourth quarter here. The quarterback keeper by Jake Green. Good for what looks to be about 5 or 6 yards there.
Well, and I'm a little shocked that he still has some of his starters in the game. I mean, the game is clearly out of hand. There's no way that River Valley isn't going to win this game. There's no way the Prexies are going to win this game. So really at this point, if I'm Coach Green, who has had magnificent success at River Valley, so I mean, he's obviously a good coach, but man, I don't know. I'm taking my starters out of the ball game. I mean, you could get somebody hurt on a team that after tonight's going to be 6-2 and has two extremely winnable games the last 2 games of the season. Could be 8-2 and possibly be looking at a playoff berth.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly it will be interesting to see where the Vikings find themselves as the season draws to a close, if they find themselves in the discussion, for some postseason play. But like you said, certainly health a consideration for the Vikings at this point.
Well, not only that, you got some puppies on the team. If you want a dog, if you want somebody to bite, if you want a dog to bite, then you want to feed them when they're a puppy. I think it was John Cooper that said that. If you want a dog to bite, you got to feed them when they're a puppy.
Certainly a lot of players in the field here this evening that, do their part in the team's preparation and practice each week. As we are just under a minute and a half remaining.
Yeah, I mean, Valley will go to 6-2. They got a tough Shelby team next week, but then they finish the season with a 2-5 Lexington. So at the very least, I got to believe Valley could take it to Lexington, have a tough game against Shelby, but this could be a 7-3 ball team, Could be. And I would sure hate to see somebody with 54 seconds left in the ball game because your starters are still in the game. I would sure hate to see somebody get hurt for a team that could be 8-2, maybe 7-3. Certainly won't finish the season with a winning record. And it looks like that will be the last play for the Vikings of River Valley. So a disappointing night tonight for the Prexies. But we get one more game at home, 10th week of the season, where we play the Braves of Ontario. So that'll be it, folks, with a Marion Harding High School telecom production where the Prexies of Marion Harding lose to the River Valley Vikings 36-12. And looks like all the Marion County teams will split with each other as River Valley gets beat by Pleasant, Marion Harding beats Pleasant, and River Valley beats Marion Harding. Have a good evening, everybody, and we'll see you week 10.